Welcome back. This is a special edition of Light Beer, Dark Money. I'm Sean Noble.
And I am Chris Clements. How you feeling, Sean?
I'm a little tired. I was up late last night. It is Wednesday, 10 a.m. as we're recording this. Wednesday, the day after the election.
The day after what was supposed to be the red tsunami
There
became the pink trickle.
Oh, yeah.
I'm calling it the pink trickle because at about 11 o'clock, that's pretty much what I was seeing.
Yeah. So the thing that is interesting is that this did not go as well as what a lot of Republicans, including myself.
You were bullish.
I was very bullish.
You were 53, 54 seats of the Senate, and
I think
was
it's, yeah,
at
I did say
51, maybe 52.
I think
and that's still possible.
yeah, I got most of my. Well, I wouldn't say I got most of it wrong. I was off. The Senate, as far as I can tell, we're going to be either 50-50 or 51-49, either direction, because we are waiting for the results to be complete. I mean, the problem is that it is Wednesday at 10 a.m.,
Yeah.
and there's a lot still outstanding.
There's so much to
Here in
to
Arizona,
count.
we have around 800,000 ballots yet to count
Yeah.
statewide. And if you were watching, when the early ballots hit, a huge lead for Katie Hobbs and Mark Kelly and all the Democrats, huge lead.
And everybody was cheering.
And then the election day vote came in late last
Well,
night.
there were some snafus during the day, right?
Right. But the election vote came in and everything is a little bit closer. So as we speak, Katie Hobbs leads Kari Lake by 11,726 votes. And
RCP has it at 50.3% to 49.7,
what's,
with 69% counted.
well, it's hard to say exactly what's counted. It probably is a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
But what we do know is that we're going to track with turnout being around what it was in 2018, 64, 65, maybe 66%.
That's still, for a midterm election,
Oh, it's
incredibly
huge.
high.
Yeah, it's big.
Incredibly
It's
high.
big. There,
And typically, what has been a midterm turnout, typically, historically?
50 something.
Yeah, 50. Sometimes even in the 40s.
Yeah. So as we break this down for Arizona, we'll go to the national stuff in a minute. Katie Hobbs leads by 11,000. Fontes leads by 84,000. So he's got a much wider lead. Chris Mays in the AG's race leads by 3,900. Kimberly Yee's up 200,000. She's going to win. Tom Horn's up by 7,600. He's going to win.
So
Because all of the ballots that are outstanding are going to largely favor Republicans. The question is,
By
at
how
what
much?
margin? They're not going to look like Election Day voters, which was like 70-30 for Republicans. It was a stunning display. But the early ballots that were released at 8 p.m. last night really favored Democrats
Yeah.
heavily. So that's why
and you had
saw this
predicted that
huge
ahead
swing.
of time.
Yeah.
You had predicted that ahead of time. So you got that right.
I mean, anybody could get that right. That's not prognosticating. That's just stating fact.
But what's amazing is that as you're listening to all the different programs last night, I was flipping around, and people don't get that. I mean, people don't understand that. Hey, this is what typically happens, and then in Arizona, because and you made a great point in this in podcast past, is that so many people do not go into the voting booth; they drop their ballot off on election day.
Yeah. So there are in Maricopa County right now, there are 275,000 ballots to count that were dropped off.
That's incredible.
That's a huge number.
And then, of course, we had the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors totally, jumping the shark yesterday with the snafu with the voting machines.
Look, there's going to need to be a serious discussion about how we reform the process.
Yeah, but
it's just
but here's the frustration: we had 2 years. We had a forensic audit. We had all this stuff
that was all
happening.
bullshit because they were
I
just
understand
talking
it was all
about
bullshit, but
what I'm talking about is actually getting the process down. When it was, and I think part of it probably we need to go back to precinct polling places, not voting centers where you can just show up anywhere
you
in
can
the
show
county
up anywhere, and
they
if
print
it's not
off
working, you can go to the other one. You can go to
right.
the other
I
one,
mean,
which is what was happening yesterday.
in the 20-some years that Helen Purcell was the county recorder, we did not have these issues. And I think a lot of it is, one, she was very competent, and she had a great staff. Karen Osborne was a phenomenal elections director. But we also had precinct-based voting.
Sure.
So if you know,
Well, and
there's
that's
no,
what they have down in Pima County.
yeah. Anyway, so
No problems down
Well,
there, as far as we can see.
as far as we can see. And there's always going to be a delay in the late returning early votes, and you know, I don't know how we fix that. If we need to fix it, you know, whatever. But the point is that this is going the people who were watching early returns last night woke up this morning and went, whoa, that's different.
Yeah.
You know, 'cause Kari Lake was down double digits, you know, that kind of thing. So there's a lot to count. It's going to take until next week. Some of these races are, you know, I think the Senate race will not be decided until next week. The governor's race, the attorney general's race, the superintendent, state treasurer is pretty much decided. Those will all will probably have a pretty good feel by Friday, because what will happen is there's going to be a dump of ballots this evening, and I would predict that Kari Lake is going to take the lead in the governor's race. Abe will take the lead in the attorney general's race. I don't think Fincham is going to take the lead. He's down to 84,000 votes, so he's got a really tall order, as does Blake Masters, who's down 90,000 votes.
Yeah.
So those races will get tighter. The Lake and Abe will flip it over, and they'll be in the lead. And then the question becomes, what does the lead, how much does their lead grow day over day for the next few days as they count these late returned, the drop-off ballots, late returned early ballots. And then, so whatever the margin is there, which I predict is going to be Lake leading, that's going to narrow again at the very end because you'll have the provisional ballots, which typically skew Democrat.
Yeah, folks who, you know, for whatever reason.
Yeah, they had issues or whatever, but that's a very small number. So unless it's very, very close. So the race that's going to matter to watch is the Senate race. That is going to be, and the Secretary of State's race. So, you know, right now, I feel pretty comfortable in saying, based on the outstanding ballots.
You heard it here first.
Kari Lake's going to be the next governor. That Abe's going to be the next AG. We already know that Horn's winning,
and Fincham is getting torpedoed.
Fincham is going to be tough, and it's going to be tough for Masters.
Yeah,
two. They'll be close.
So in terms of, I mean, turn us on exactly to the mindset of the voter going in to split the ticket in this regard.
Okay, so let's.
So I mean, just for argument's sake.
Well, look, I think, and this is we can look at this across the country. This election, well, the big takeaway is we are a very closely divided country.
Oh, we if you go down and really look at the data in Real Clear Politics, and for all you junkies out there, I encourage you to do that if you haven't already. The tribalism within America is absolutely on stage.
Yeah.
In terms of the different states that have become more red, different states that have become more and more blue, and then sort of the states in the middle, like in Arizona and down the line.
So the biggest loser, I think, last night was Donald Trump.
I totally agree.
Bunch of his House endorsements, a bunch of his Senate endorsements went down.
Do you think Donald Trump understands that?
The reporting is that he is furious. He was screaming last night.
It doesn't matter if he's furious or not, because he should be furious because the leader. I'm going to say this on this program. The leader of the Republican Party right now is not Donald Trump. It's Ron DeSantis.
Absolutely. Ron DeSantis.
He is absolutely the leader of the Republican Party. He's won 2 elections, one by a hair margin, the other one by a complete landslide. He navigated a very populous state during the pandemic in expert fashion. He is the one to beat.
Well, he's the future of the party.
Absolutely.
Or should be.
Absolutely.
And Trump's going to, resist that. It's going to be, I mean, we could be headed to quite a battle between those two. I mean, DeSantis put together what should be the model. I mean, he won
Oh, he won
Miami-Dade County,
which no one.
no one done before.
No one's
I mean,
done.
it's and he
It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he won it by 20 points,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's where we have to look. So let's do a quick recap of the Senate. Last time we talked, I had a pretty bullish view. I was wrong. New Hampshire went down big, and Pennsylvania flipped
Yep.
fairly narrowly,
With
but
Fetterman.
it did.
yeah.
And North Carolina stayed. We predicted that.
But that goes into your
Ohio
point about
stayed.
Trump right there. That's a perfect.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example of. I was listening to another podcast this morning where a vast majority of conservatives were supporting someone else in that primary. Trump jumps in, supports Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz has never
and
done much of anything about.
And he won by the
nothing in
narrowest of margins
Exactly.
in the primary, and then loses
and loses to somebody who is absolutely beatable.
Ron Johnson narrowly prevailed in Wisconsin, and we lost Colorado. That was a big, we said that was a stretch anyway.
Well,
So
and with O'Day, there's the Trump factor again.
Yeah,
He jumps into that race. He starts banging on
Banging on,
O'Day
right.
for not, kissing his ring. And then O'Day goes down because you have to think about 15 to 20% of that electorate who are pro-Trump. Just,
Yeah.
they don't support him.
So the outstanding ones are Georgia, which is headed to a runoff. So, yay. And then Nevada and Arizona. So Arizona, I would say, is going to be a tough row. Laxalt is ahead in Nevada, but there's a big chunk, about 100,000 votes in Clark County yet to count, which are going to favor the Democrat. So the question is, how much do they favor? He's down. He leads right now. Looks like 23,000, 20. How come I can't do math? 23,000 votes right now. So not a comfortable lead, but a lead nonetheless.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens in Nevada. And then, where we're looking at, Pennsylvania flips. So we were 50-50. Pennsylvania flips. That's 51-49. But then Nevada could flip it back, which would be 50-50. Arizona would let's say Kelly prevails, that stays a wash. So then it becomes Georgia could be the majority maker for the Republicans, or
Well, and with the margin that Brian Kemp won in Georgia, and he won by a super healthy margin.
and I mean healthy
you
enough.
got to think that a good
He won
pivot.
by so much that Stacey Abrams actually conceded.
Well, I hear she hasn't conceded
She did.
Arizona. Somebody made that joke last night. Like, well, I mean, she can just kind of pick and choose wherever she wants to go.
Right.
But he won by such a healthy margin, which was not predicted. So the polling was all over the place in many of the
I
races.
think we knew Kemp was going to win.
Yeah, we knew he was going to win, but it was showing a much tighter race. And now, the big question in Georgia is that can the Republicans get their shit together? I'll just say it, and come together.
When we've got Chris Kerr saying, something,
And come together in a winnable race to get Herschel Walker over the finish line, and that means the Trumpians, the everybody coming together and focusing on that race to get Herschel Walker over the finish line.
So if let's see if I've got this. If I'm figuring,
Have
this
you
out.
looked at Alaska?
Well, it's going to be Republican. The question is whether it's going to be the one Republican or Lisa Murkowski.
Yeah, Kelly Shabaka is up.
Shabaka, that's what it
Is up, by 3,000 votes.
Yeah. Still a lot to count.
Still a lot to count. 70% reporting according to RCP, but if she pulls that out, that would be amazing.
That would be pretty interesting.
Now,
the ranked choice voting,
over 1,000 write-ins.
the ranked choice voting there is going to probably favor Murkowski.
Yeah, I would imagine.
So, because I think you have to get to 50.
And neither one of them.
And neither one is at 50. So the Democrat will be dropped, and then whoever those voters picked as number 2, which is my guess, is going to be Lisa Murkowski. So Murkowski's coming back. I don't think there's any question about that. The
Democrat only got 20,000 votes.
Yeah. So, so
Still another barn burner.
congressional race. Oh, let's go to Congress so Republicans will take the House. It won't be by nearly as many as a lot of people predicted. I would say the House right now is in the 20 to 25 range. I had predicted 30, maybe as many as 33. I said 25 to 30,
20
maybe as many
to
as
25
33.
range is still a healthy range.
Yeah.
Anything over 20
One of the big
is, maybe it's a red trickle versus pink.
Yeah. So
You know.
the
But look at Arizona, still undecided. District 1, Schweikert.
well that's going to go to Schweikert.
Greg Stanton looks like he's going
Stanton's going to win.
to go back.
Yeah, but
And-
Juan's going to win, and
Juan
Eli
had-
Crane.
And Eli Crane is not even on the board anymore. I think they called that.
Yeah. The big one was the chairman of the DCCC
Yes, New
went
York
down.
went
Sean
down.
Patrick Maloney
Well, when
has
when
called
you're
and conceded.
when you're comparing people's economic circumstances to Chef Boyardee affordability, I think
Oh, just eat Chef Boyardee.
there's only one place to go, and that's down.
Yeah. So
You can either feed your family with Chef Boyardee like I do, or or go pay $5 to $6 a gallon of gas.
So the things to watch for
kind of
the
a
House
frustrating.
races are going to be Iowa, where the Republican has a like 2,000 vote lead over Cindy Axne. That would be a Republican pickup. You've got a couple races Lauren Boebert is down in her race
in Colorado.
Here in Arizona, obviously, Nevada. It's not going to go as well for Republicans in Nevada as they'd hoped. There's a chance that they could pick up 1 or 2. They thought they might pick up all 3. They're not going to do that. And then there's a bunch of California races, 3 or 4 that could make a difference we're not going to know for days.
Yeah.
Same as Arizona as far as the vote count. So, yeah, yet to be determined on what the majority is, but pretty certain that it is a Republican majority in the House. And then it could come down to Georgia again on the Senate, which is astounding.
And that's
We are a closely divided nation.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
a 50-50 nation.
Well, and like I said, if you go down and look at each state as the returns were coming in and how tribal our country has become, where there are definitely solid red states, solid blue states.
Well, but
and
there's
people are moving accordingly. And
Well, maybe.
I mean, Florida
definitely
20
more
years
red.
ago was a swing state. It was watch Florida. Well, guess what? You don't have to watch Florida as much anymore because it's purely red.
Well, and Ohio
that has a lot to do with DeSantis.
Ohio is purely red.
And Ohio is purely red.
I mean, J.D. Vance won handily in a race that people thought was going to be much closer.
Yeah, but Mitch McConnell had to spend a lot of money there.
Yeah. The
You know,
question is,
that was
did
the other
they
thing
over-
about
did
Trump.
Did they buy a landslide?
Yeah, did they buy a landslide? That's the other thing, because he was trending negatively versus DeWine, the governor. The governor won without any help at all.
Right.
So where a forensic audit per se needs to be done on where we spend our money and where money was not spent. Trump didn't spend any money anywhere.
He spent a little bit, but not.
Yeah,
but he's
not,
sitting on
not,
$99
not to,
million.
not to, yeah, exactly. Not in terms of how much money he had in the kitty,
Right,
which
right.
he's now saving for, obviously, a run for the presidency.
Whatever. I would say that this election reiterated once again the importance of voter contact. The Democrats did a much better job. I talked about how well they were doing in Nevada on the ground game. That they've
Mastered that there.
They may end up winning that. They might lose the governor's race. The governor's race is wider than the Senate race, so Laxalt may lose, and Lombardo becomes governor. But there's definitely this ticket splitting stuff, which is, here in Arizona clearly happened when you look at the Secretary of State numbers and the Senate numbers.
Yeah.
You have people who voted Republican, but then voted Democrat in the other race.
Well, one thing that we haven't talked about, and something that I wanted to bridge probably in our last podcast, but we ran out of time. How much of an effect do you think, like ballpark percentage? We had a lot of leaders within the Republican Party here in Arizona say that they were not going to vote for the ticket under any circumstance.
Mhm.
You have the mayor of Mesa, the mayor of Casa Grande, who's a friend of ours, openly support Mark Kelly, openly support Katie Hobbs.
Mhm.
I know a prominent Republican who ran for statewide office, who I can't say because it would be a breaking of confidence, who was openly raising money for Katie Hobbs, Republicans for Katie Hobbs,
Mhm.
because of Kari Lake. How much do you think that is a factor?
I think it's a
10 points?
Oh no,
No?
it's marginal, but it goes to the frustration that a lot of Republicans have for Trump.
Yeah.
And the things that I mean, it just will be very interesting. If Trump runs again and wins the nomination, I think he loses. It may be that it's going to be, a few years before the Republican Party can get back to normal. But as long as he's around, it can't, and that's sad.
Yeah, the scary thing is if he runs, he'll be about 78, and Biden can't help but not try to run. He'll be 82.
Yeah,
the buffoon and the bonehead going at it again. It just doesn't make any sense for the country. It doesn't make any sense for the world.
yeah. Well, it will. The challenge here. So we're not going to know all of this for a week, and then we watch what happens in Georgia, and then we're looking to 2024. Now, Trump supposedly is going to announce for president next week.
The
See what
15th.
happens there. I don't know what he thinks is. Who knows? He's just so full of himself that he can't help it. But changing gears a little bit,
Okay.
for me, the biggest surprise last night,
Yeah.
we're going to have a lieutenant governor in Arizona.
Yeah.
That referral that the legislature put on the ballot is going to create the position of lieutenant governor. We've voted this down multiple times in the past.
Just another way of raising money.
I don't know. I like the idea.
See, I don't.
Really?
I just think it's I'm being cynical about it. It's
we're
another
one of
way
only a
of
few states that doesn't
It's
have
another way
one.
of the ruling class of raising money for a position that is totally meaningless.
Well, unless the governor leaves or dies.
It's a meaningless position. And now you're gonna have to raise money for the governor's race and lieutenant governor.
well, don't they?
run
I
it.
think they'll just run as a ticket.
But you don't have to necessarily vote that way.
I don't know. I actually haven't read the read the measures of what the law will do.
It is so that the fundraising class has one more candidate to raise money for. I'm
guess.
sorry.
I guess.
That's the cynic in me.
So
and they have raised a lot of money. There's some people who've made tons of money.
yeah, there's a lot of money.
This cycle.
A lot of money. Oh, speaking of money in politics, the anti-dark money initiative passed. It targeted me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you are the prince of dark money.
so
And it's probably unconstitutional.
it is. It is unconstitutional,
And so
and it's going to be challenged, and it's going to be thrown out.
Yep.
So,
So there you go.
Terry Goddard, hats off. You finally did it,
Yeah.
but it's going to be short-lived.
You can
We can talk about it.
you can
I
take
tell you,
your
we were on-
can take your victory lap for maybe about 3-4 months.
Yeah, I don't know how. It very likely could get to the Supreme Court,
Sure.
which would be very interesting to watch. So,
How much dark money do you think was spent on this election? There's
I don't
probably
know.
a lot of light beer drank last night. That's for
yeah.
sure.
Well, I don't know how much dark money was spent. The the amount of money that was spent for this midterm is record breaking. $16 billion across the country. $16 billion. That's amazing.
That's nuts.
And the spending disparity here in the Senate race was pretty astounding. I mean, Mark Kelly spent $74 million, and Blake Masters had $9 million when it comes to the candidate. Now, obviously, the outside groups spent as well, but Democrats definitely outspent Republicans in the Senate race. I don't know what the ultimate spending margin looked like in the governor's race, but we'll have to take a look at that when we get the reports. But for now, Arizona stays leaning red, maybe purplish, depending on how you look at it. I like I said, I think we're going to hold all the statewide offices except potentially not Secretary of State and potentially not Kelly's. Kelly will stay as senator. But other than that, everything else is Republican. Mine inspector.
That never changes. I don't think we've had a Democrat run for mine inspector in quite some time.
We haven't had a Democrat mine inspector for a long time.
Yeah.
We talked about the House races here. Oh, legislature.
Yeah.
So it looks like Republicans will have 17 and maybe 18 seats in the state Senate. It's going to come down to LD4, where you have Christine Marsh and Nancy Bartow, two incumbents running against each other.
Yep.
And then Scantlebury in the East Valley is down right now, but he probably will make up that difference in these late counted votes. So, and then in the House, probably narrower than people might have thought it would be, but still a majority. So it'll be, status quo, but a little bit more of a Republican majority than they've had, because it's been a one-seat margin in the House and the Senate here in Arizona for the last 2 years. So big question, which I think they meet tomorrow, will be the legislative leadership races. And so we'll see who becomes Speaker and Senate President. We can talk about that later. So.
Yeah, in terms of the election results here, it really just is split down.
You talking about here in Arizona or
just
nationally?
No, I mean, I think just nationally and here as well. It just shows how divided we are.
We're very, very divided.
And I mean,
narrowly
divided. I was just looking at the initiatives, and it's amazing that some things passed and some things didn't.
Yeah.
And if this, one of the good things is Prop 132, the 60% approval for new tax. If that heads over the finish line, that's a great thing for Arizona.
Yep. Well, the two ballot reform issues.
The dark money thing passed by 72%.
Yeah, there was no opposition,
and it's going to get shot down.
And let me make that clear: there was no opposition because it was going to pass, and figured the money's better spent on litigation
to litigate down the road.
But when you look at the ballot initiatives or referendum, the tax increase, so this, requiring 60% passage for anything on the ballot that raises taxes, solid choice, because, the legislature takes 2/3 majority. So that equalizes that a little bit. And then we passed the single subject rule. Mm-hmm. So you can't log roll a bunch of stuff into one initiative. That's good. And then it looks like the requirement for voter ID for mail-in ballots is going to pass, which is also good. So I think on the ballot initiative front, all good. Oh, and the other thing, this one's going to be close, but in-state tuition for Dreamers. I think that could go either way based on what's left to count.
Yeah,
because that's narrowly winning right now. Is that right? Let's see. That's 308.
Tuition for non-citizens 308 is narrowly winning.
Yeah. It's up 20.
That could get challenged as well.
Maybe.
So
someone will challenge it, I'm sure. But
so we'll see.
Fire districts. Yeah. Tax benefits for fire districts probably going to go down. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, the fire district sales tax, Prop 310.
Oh, and we are headed to a runoff for Phoenix City Council District 6.
Mm-hmm.
What we don't know is who it's going to be. Robinson was the top vote getter, and then Joan Green right now is number 2, and right behind her, number 3 is Sam Stone, who is Sal DeCicio's chief of staff. So this is for Sal DeCicio's council district, and so we'll have to wait and see on
Last
that
of
one.
the Mohicans.
Yeah, so we'll
I
have
mean-
we'll have that race. We'll have that race, and actually, I don't know when that election is. Is that not till like March?
I have no idea.
So we'll have to talk about that. Maybe we can have those guys on.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
That'd be great. We should have those guys on.
So I don't know.
It's just another day in paradise. A divided
Well-
country, a president who can barely tie his shoes, high inflation. The inflation numbers are going to come out today, and they're expected to be, not even a change.
Well, and this actually leads to what.
and you have to, and so now the question is, the polling you can't believe at all. There's so much, especially within the margin of error. If anything is in the margin of error, just look at it and say, okay, it's just going to be about turnout and what happens with the ballots. Nobody can predict that one way or the other. But if you look at the forecast, especially the economic forecast over the next several months, it's bleak.
Yeah.
It is incredibly bleak.
So that leads to what are the main takeaways from last night at this point in my mind? One is Biden defied history. He did not have as bad a night. His party didn't as a first midterm president,
Despite all the negatives.
despite
against
all the
him.
negatives against him. So that's pretty remarkable.
Do you think the whole talk, I was thinking about this morning, of a red wave motivated his base in a way?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
like we were getting overly
Yeah.
arrogant and just cocky about the fact that this could happen.
Yeah,
that,
they
or
worked
that, or
hard.
that it was going to happen, and then it turned into a big
and
trickle.
The problem is for Republicans is that the Democrats have a better ground game.
Yep, and they've
So
had
if
it for years.
If their people get motivated, it's going to have more impact. So yes, absolutely, that had something to do with it. But you have to hand it to Biden. I mean, he defied history, and probably that's going to embolden him to run for reelection. So the big takeaways are you have Democrats defying history. You have, but they're still going to be under the Republican control of the House, so that's going to create gridlock in D.C. for sure. And then we're the other takeaway, we're a very closely divided country that needs to figure out how to get back to normal, and that voters did vote their pocketbook, kind of. I mean, maybe that's a race by race basis, but the abortion issue probably had some impact.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, you definitely saw that in Michigan. You definitely saw that
Well,
across
you
the
saw it.
country.
You definitely
That was a
saw
good
it
point you
in
made.
states where the abortion was on the ballot.
ballot.
Kansas had an abortion measure on the ballot. The Democrat governor got reelected. Michigan had an abortion question on the ballot. The Democrat governor got reelected. Two states where, for all intents and purposes, those governors should have lost.
Yeah.
And had the abortion question not been on the ballot, might have had a different outcome. So Republicans need to figure out what to do about that issue, because the perception that no abortion ever is where a lot of voters think Republicans are, just the same as there are Republicans who think that, Democrats are abortion anytime, all the time, which most of them aren't. The country's in
Unless
the middle
you're
somewhere.
living in California.
Well, yeah, but so that's the ebb and flow of how policies develop in this country. Because of Roe v. Wade, we just had this kind of stand-pattedness, I guess, where there wasn't, no one had to debate the issue. And now we have to debate the issue, and it's we talked about this last time. It's a messy issue, and it's going to be complicated, and it's not going to get resolved anytime soon. But it's going to have some semblance of it's going to matter, in some of these
Well,
elections.
and
as we go
and
through
on that
the
issue,
next
I
few
mean,
cycles.
there's growing consensus in some areas. I mean, if you ask, polling's been done on this, the majority of Americans should abortion be legal. Like 75% say yes. If you ask the same people, should there be restrictions on when you can have abortion? 85% say yes.
Yeah.
Should late term abortions be restricted? 90% say yes.
Right.
So it's going to be somewhere. You can't be a Democrat and say you're not for any restriction. You can't be a Republican and say you're not for any restrictions.
Yeah.
So it's going to be somewhere in the middle. It's going to be somewhere in that 15 to 20 week,
And then
heartbeat
with
bill sort of
exceptions.
window with exceptions in terms of where the consensus will probably fall
Right. Which will be
within
about
within
where,
the states.
which will be about where Roe had it,
Exactly.
for
But it'll
50
be in the
years.
states. And I still
Yeah.
think that's important.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see any kind of a national legislation on that anytime soon, for sure. So, well, folks, keep watching.
More to come.
We'll be back. Actually, I will not be here next week. Will you be here next week?
I will be here next
Okay,
week.
you might have to fly solo or get
No.
somebody to come in.
I'll get somebody to come in and we'll just banter back and forth.
There you go.
I'll have a
You'll
Sean,
have-
Sean Jr.
You'll definitely have. Maybe
Well,
I'll
and
call
one of the
in.
reasons why we're doing this so early is because I'm not here tomorrow.
Yeah, because you're going hunting.
I'm going to Arkansas, which has a new governor.
Yep. Say hi to her for me.
I don't know her.
You don't know Sarah Huckabee
I
Sanders?
do not know Sarah Huckabee Sanders. I'll be interested to hear what everyone down there at Deer Camp thinks about Sarah Huckabee Sanders
I'm sure you will.
as their new governor.
Yeah. First woman governor of Arkansas.
Yeah,
A lot of firsts.
following in her father's footsteps.
A lot of firsts last night. I mean, all these, first woman elected governor of New York.
Yes.
First African American voted as governor of Maryland.
Yep.
There was someone. Massachusetts' first lesbian female governor. Jared Polis is the first gay governor in Colorado. So yeah, there's a bunch of
Well,
firsts.
I mean, Massachusetts is one of those states that is blue as blue can be.
Yeah.
There's not one Republican representative from that state.
right.
And that demonstrates the tribalism that we're seeing.
Yeah.
Which is an unfortunate part of our body politic.
Yep. Well, we got to figure out how we can bring people together.
Yeah.
I think that starts with showing Trump the exit.
I heard a commentary today that if DeSantis is able to weather the barrage and get through the primary, if he decides to run, this is from a Democratic strategist, no one can beat him.
Oh, I agree with that.
This is from a prominent Democratic strategist. He said no one's going to beat him.
But the Democrats know that it's going to be a bloodbath
Yeah.
on our side going through
Leading
the
up to
primary
it.
with Trump. I don't know. It may be. I mean, there's definitely Trump fatigue setting in with some Republicans.
Well, the
question is whether
media
there's enough.
is all of a sudden saying this makes no sense. Why would you criticize another Republican the way you're doing it? Why would you criticize continue to criticize your vice president the way you have? You're creating losers, not winners.
Because he's a narcissistic asshole.
Well, like I said, you either have the narcissists or the sociopath.
Yeah,
That was
he's bad.
2016. Now you have the narcissist and the poor old man with dementia. The bonehead.
Politics.
Buffoon
Politics.
versus the bonehead.
Well,
It's but I guess the positives in Arizona is we're still Arizona. We're a contrarian state. We're neither conservative, we're not liberal. We're contrarian. And when you see what's happening on the ballot, it reflects that.
yeah. Well, we'll have you will have more to
Well,
talk
now
about.
I have work to do.
I got work to do. You be ready for next week because there's going to be a lot more to talk
There's
about.
gonna be
There'll
a lot more to
of
talk about.
Elections that are decided by then. So I'm kind of bummed I'm not going to be here. Maybe I'll try to call in.
Maybe if Kari Lake wins, maybe I'll have her on.
There you go. All right.
We'll see if that happens. All right, everybody. God
Thanks,
bless.
everybody.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.